Kiki. Flying than a kite. I
I'm
can hide
in
in
a
a
bundle.
bundle. Keep it so white. I can buy it by the bundle.
Them
Stuff the
cookies
cookies
up
up
for
for
the
the
crumble.
crumble. Don't be acting like Carter knows it's gonna fumble.
Fumble. So we decided to have segments during our podcast because we never introduced it. So we're not going to just randomly start a segment. So our first segment is going to be trending topics. Let's talk about the Grammys, which, mind you, I did not even watch, but only watched one part of it, which was Beyonce's acceptance speech. And word of mouth, I heard that there was a lot of controversy about Beyonce winning. Was it country album of the year, album of the year, or whatever? Which is to be expected. As a former super fan, I wouldn't say I'm a fan now. I'm a supporter. I wouldn't say a fan, but as a former super fan, I think that's crazy. And of course, they're going to feel a certain way about a black woman winning the album of the year, especially country. But when I watch her acceptance speech, not to be too deep, not to be too emotional, but I cried because she's black. It's a country album, and a lot of people prey on her downfall.
It was unexpected from the white community,
Yes.
for sure, but it's exactly what was needed, especially now. Happy Black History Month.
Yes. Of course, there's going to be controversy, but if they're not talking about you, then you're not
Are
popping.
you doing it right?
You're really not popping.
No,
So-
for real.
And then I also, word of mouth, heard that Kendrick Lamar accepted a few awards, like 4 or 5 awards for the Grammys. And my personal opinion is that I think that's crazy because his last album wasn't that good to me. And not to say that I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan, but he's had better albums, which I feel like could have had more awards. But this last album, and I'm a Drake fan, so their little beef they had or whatever, I'm always going to take Champagne Papi's
side.
every time.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I mean, he put in the work, but it's like,
No, he did. And I think his album did as well as it did because of the Drake and Kendrick beef that was going on. So of course it was gonna have a lot of hype, a lot of streams.
Yeah.
But fun fact, we just heard the 5 Grammys that Kendrick Lamar won. Apparently Drake only has 5 Grammys, period, and he won 5 Grammys for only one album.
Yeah.
So he must be doing, and isn't he performing at the Super Bowl this weekend? So yeah, that man is doing something right to the point where Lil Wayne's upset. He's not even going to the Super Bowl, which I also think is crazy because regardless, the black community is supposed to support the black community, especially when it comes to our culture and music within our culture.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. But yeah, Drake stopped messing with the Grammys a long time ago, so that's also could be a reason why. I'm sure there's a lot of conspiracies behind it. And I also heard, I don't know if you did, but apparently Beyonce walked in the Grammys just to accept her Cowboy Carter award and then walked out.
As she should. As she should. She's been doing this for what, 25 years?
Mm-hmm.
As she should. Like, they constantly every year would skip over Beyonce, and I feel like they did that on purpose because she's black.
Yeah.
Like, she does the work. It's not like she's like half ass and everything. She does the work. Like, she's good at, again, I sound like super fan. I'm not a super fan. I promise.
She used to be though.
Super fan.
Yeah.
But I just think that people don't give her enough credit because she does have a huge fan base, and some people just always want to rock the boat just because she does have a huge fan base and jump on the bandwagon of hating her. But you can't. The shows, the proof is in the pudding. Like, watch a show and you would see where her vision comes from, where her creativity comes from. So
yeah. Do you listen to Doechii?
Yes.
Doechii's performance, I'm not sure if you've seen previews, but it was fire.
I did.
It was so fire. And I saw her acceptance speech, and I also saw a video. Somebody put an edit of her quitting her job, and then it was mixed in with her acceptance speech. And I got emotional for that because I was like, this is a girl. It literally looked like she was recording the video from her laptop. She was in distress. She didn't know what she was about to do with her life. So for you to go from that to, like, you're performing for the Grammys and winning a Grammy. I just heard of Doechii this year. I'm not sure if she's been around forever.
Really?
Yeah, maybe I've been under a rock. I don't know. But
That's crazy.
she's fire, though. She is fire, for real.
I'm not gonna lie. I think the first time I heard it was like 2 years ago. But like I will listen to some Doechii, especially in the gym. She gets me hyped up. But yeah, I think that's dope too. And she's very, very different. So to watch her process of like glowing up in a sense, I think that's dope. But yeah, that's did she win a Grammy? Anybody know?
I don't remember. I think she did win a Grammy. I don't know for what.
Yeah.
Are we looking it up? I think she might have.
Well.
And Kai went to the Grammys for the first time. Did you
Yes.
see that, Kai Cenat? If you know me, you know I love me some Kai Cenat, like down bad. Okay, she won a Grammy. What did she win a Grammy for? Best rap album, as she should. Didn't that album just come out recently?
It literally just came out like a few months ago.
Wow, right? That's
Yeah.
insane.
That's crazy. So congratulations to Doechii. That's fire.
And Kai for going to the Grammys for the first time, and you know they weren't trying to let him on like the like all access floor to like walk around with as if he was like regular.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, mind you, everybody knew who he. You know, it's fine.
I just love that he's just extremely humble. Like I love a humble creator, influencer, celebrity, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's dope that he was there.
And he's been the same person from jump.
Yeah.
The same exact goofy person. He did the little that slow-mo thing that everybody does and did a backflip, landed on the ground, did it twice, mind you, because the first time the camera guy didn't get the angle correctly. That's crazy. Goodness. But congrats to all of them. Definitely some black talent out here. Don't sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't sleep.
And if it weren't for the black community, the black artists, I would not be watching the Grammys. What's the Grammys?
Yeah.
What's the Grammys? I don't know what they're doing. So, yeah. Congratulations to all the winners. And I thought that was just super dope. And I also, I just feel like that is great to have that kind of representation, especially when, the Grammys is known as, a mainly, white award show. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's dope. And, I love black people.
Yeah. Rooting for everybody black, literally.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of being black, in case you've been living under a rock, apparently now a lot of different corporations are not using or are cutting back, are being forced to cut back their DE&I initiatives.
Mm-hmm. Can we explain what that is first?
Yes, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I don't know how it started, but I know me working for corporate America, a lot of these D&I initiatives are put into play to give equal opportunity to women, minorities, people with disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. For the relevance of the topic, a lot of people, the backlash is coming from the African American community, especially because it's very recent within the last few years that a lot of different black designers and black business owners are getting into these corporations. So I feel like that was kind of a smack in the face to say we want your product, but we don't want to represent you at the same time. Mm-hmm. So,
I don't know how I feel about it. Actually, I do, but I don't want to say too much because I do work for a company that decided to take that away from their company. But I don't know. Like Bree said, it's a huge slap in the face. Mm-hmm. I feel like, especially people of color, because it's LGBTQ. Yeah. In 2025, that is such a huge demographic of people that work for all of these companies. So I feel like it's weird. I think it's crazy. They work corporate. They work just on a regular level. I don't know. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
And I feel like ever since Trump has taken on his presidency or whatever you want to call it, I think people have just lost their minds, to be honest. Please, thank you.
And fun fact about that, only 19% of that D and I population is made up of white women, which is insane to me because these are the same white women that voted for Donald Trump, and it'll affect them the most.
Which means that black women won't be that affected as much as white women.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the backlash,
yeah,
the backlash is crazy. But you know what? So I voiced who I work for, the level at which I work for that company, and I've been receiving the backlash one of two ways. I'm obviously for my community 100%, but I think it comes down to education and really knowing the facts and doing the research. Mm-hmm. So although, Trump put in this no DE&I verbiage on a lot of these different corporate policies, we are still, implementing diverse hiring. We can't use the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it's still being used throughout the company. That doesn't mean, we still have our Black History Month collection. We're still going to have Black assortment for Santa Claus and nutcrackers and stuff like that. And I think that's something that people are missing the mark on is we're just going to cut out black people in general, women in general, LGBTQ in general. And it's no, there's a lot more that goes down to it.
Yeah.
Another fun fact, this whole D&I controversy, whatever, came from a Harvard lawsuit against, I think it's called the some type of federal student organization. So it was really catered towards schools and college funding and scholarships and things like that. I'm not sure how the bridge happened from education to retail, but yeah, just fun fact and some background. Regardless, it's insane. That's all I see on my timeline. That's all I see on LinkedIn. But yeah.
At the end of the day, we're still going to have our opinion on it. And I feel like everybody across the board, whether you're white, black, straight, gay, whatever, everybody should have their fair chance of
success.
Yes.
Period.
I that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
I might not agree with how you do things. I might not agree with your lifestyle, but I feel like everybody should have their chance when it comes to having a job, or what's represented in a store. I think that's important. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just some advice if you are somebody that fit. Is that picking up? Ace in the background. Okay. Just some advice. So a lot of these corporations have programs where you can sign your small business up to be to have assortment within those stores. So we're pushing buy in black, but a lot of us buy in black, we normally do it at festivals or pop-up shops. So really getting into the weeds of knowing who these big corporations are, who has these types of programs, and getting your black business in these stores, I think is going to be really big. The more we take over these companies, the better.
Yeah.
So that's that on that.
That's true. And I feel like we bring not to toot our horns because we are
no
black.
Toot it.
But because we do bring a lot of different creativity. Black people are so creative. Black and brown people are so creative. And why would you not want to have that sprinkle on your company?
Right.
It's just bland to me, in my opinion.
It gives unseasoned chicken. It gives a very pale chicken.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Pink. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For this next segment, we are going to do a song of the day, which we're going to call our vibe check. So, Breezy, what's your Bad Bunny song of the day? Because I know it's Bad Bunny.
Okay, if you didn't know, I'm obsessed with Hispanic culture. And one of my favorite current artists are Bad Bunny. He is I would say number one. I would say number one in this season of my life. I'm also learning Spanish, and I plan to take Spanish classes at the end of this year. So his album just dropped in January 5th, and it's been on repeat since January 5th. So I would definitely say Nueva Yol, his first song on his new album.
How do you say it?
Nueva Yol. Nueva Yol, which means New York. But that's how Puerto Ricans say it. For some reason, when they say York, they
Yo.
or if there's a R, they change it to an L. But it's like it was like like a ode to like appreciation to New York, because a lot of immigrants do start and move to New York when they come to America. And it was one of a classic song. I don't know. I don't know that much history. I'm still learning, but it's a classic song that he kind of intertwined into his new song about New York and how, immigration is like really important to him in Puerto Rico as well, being a Puerto Rican as well. So yeah, I'm obsessed with him. So that would be my song of the day.
Mine is Too Slippery by Boss Man D-Lo. I feel like that song has been the song of my season. Huh? Because you know me so well. I listen to it every day. I listen to it when I work out. I listen to it when I'm working, in a car, bumping. I listen to it when I'm about to go out. It gets me really, really, really hyped. And it's just a reminder that I don't want a puppy. I want a big dog. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Another song that I really like, though, and that's my alarm, fun fact, is Eyes Open by P&B Rock. It's a really good song. It wakes me up every morning.
Yeah, okay. So every time I because let's talk about it. Every time I stay the night at Bree's house. Okay, I wouldn't say every time. I would say like 80% of the time. When Bree's alarm, she has this Alexa thing. I don't know what it's called. She has this Alexa little alarm thing. And whenever her alarm goes off, it plays that song. And when I tell you I don't listen to that song ever again, because it plays so many times. And then if she didn't wake up, it keeps playing over and over.
At 8 a.m. we listen
and we don't judge. Exactly.
8 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. Eyes Open by P&B Rock.
Yeah, it's that, and then the combination of Ace in the background. So, yeah. I still love you, though. I still love you. Yeah.
In a season of love. Oh, you gonna leave me hanging? Our next segment is gonna be our fit check. So as you can see, we have on our wine red, feeling real sexy, feeling real cute, drinking some wine. You know what I'm saying? It's Valentine's Day season, so we have to pop out with the red. My top is from H&M, and it's a little. I've been seeing these tops a lot on like social media. You know, the little roof whatever this is called, mock neck, whatever. And some, I call these booty pants because they're stretchy and they're ribbed. But yeah.
Where'd you get those from?
Fashion Nova.
Okay.
Yeah.
My whole outfit is H&M head to toe because
the pants are fire though.
Thank you.
One time for the pants.
I got this from H&M because I could not find any wine red, and I'm also in the process of losing weight, so like I have no clothes. So I went shopping and I went to H&M, and yeah. So whole outfit from H&M. Sponsor us. Welcome back to Black Women Link Up, where we bring the real back to Black sisterhood.
So obviously it's the season of Valentine's. We wanted to talk about body image, loving ourselves, finding love on a deeper level, perfectionism, which we go through a lot on the podcast. I don't know about you, but I know I'm a perfectionist sometimes with myself, professionally, mentally, emotionally, physically, the whole nine. And I think it's important, especially like this month and honestly every other month, to just really embrace like some of our imperfections and even express it and be more transparent on the podcast regarding that. So
before we get into that though, speaking of Valentine's Day, how do you feel about Valentine's Day personally, not being in a relationship? Like, what is your stance? What is your view on Valentine's Day?
Well, I've been single on Valentine's Day for the last 3, maybe 4 years. I don't know. And every year has been really different. So, like, each year has kind of been me just pouring into myself. Yeah. Like, the first year after, like, I went through a breakup, me and my mom, we spent Valentine's together. She brought me candy and flowers and everything like that. And I think each year, like, it gets hard after, like, that post-breakup period. But you find ways to, like, pour into yourself, cater to yourself,
Yeah.
and do stuff that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
Last year was probably the first year I did like a formal Valentine's type of thing where I went to dinner, I made content for myself. Like I was very much like in a girly type of mode. So that's kind of my stance being single, is like just doing the things that girls like to do.
Yeah. I think for the most part, women that are, well, from my experience, women that are normally single on Valentine's Day, they be like, F Valentine's Day. But I'm not like that. Like, I still love Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not in a relationship doesn't mean anything. I know God loves me.
Period.
So, I feel like Valentine's Day is still something that should be like celebrated. Even though you're not in a relationship. And then I feel like if this is the time as a single woman to set the bar high, so when your man comes along or when your husband comes along, you're not expecting anything less.
Exactly.
That's just my personal opinion. So I don't understand. I mean, do what you want to do, but like if you're a single woman and you're like F Valentine's Day, I mean, who broke your heart, babe?
You got some healing to do.
Yeah,
honestly.
like that means you got some healing to do, and that means you have some self-reflection that you need to be doing for you to be so bitter about Valentine's Day.
And rightfully so. I mean, I was definitely there once. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've always been like, I love Valentine's Day. Like, it's been hard. It's really hard. Yeah. Especially, again, like post-breakup and stuff like that. Because it's plastered everywhere you go. It's Valentine's Day, even in January, even in December in some places. Like, all you see is hearts and this and that and advertisements for reservations and stuff like that. So, I've definitely been there, but I think, again, it's about going where you're loved. So whether that's like with family or with friends, or even like booking yourself a little spa day, like doing what anything, any type of distraction. I know we don't like to use distractions, but any type of distraction you could use to like just love on yourself, I think is really important during the season. So.
Yeah, and then also celebrating Valentine's Day too with your friends, like I feel like that's a good feeling as well, even if you are single. And again, I feel like there's a certain demographic that talks about it because they are in relationships, but like I want to bring positivity to the women that are still single, and still waiting on God to tell them that their future husband is on the way, or you know what I mean, like their future husband is on the way to find them. Like you can still find happiness, even, it sounds so cliche, but you can still find happiness even if you're not in a relationship, believe it or not. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that because it's always like, oh, my man did this, my man did that, my man did this. Or it's the complete opposite, or like if Valentine's Day, I don't need nobody, I got myself, and that's true, but like you don't have to have like such a negative perspective on it. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So perfectionism, leading to that,
we go through this every single pod, every single recording session. I feel like I can speak for myself. I'm very, very, very hard on myself in general. And it's because of how I grew up transparently. Just, having a strict father, I feel like plays a really big part. And then just growing up, single mom household and watching her do everything and her being super independent. It's like I kind of got to follow that same kind of strength, if you will. So everything I do kind of is mirrored off of that. So a lot of different, when it comes to work, when it comes to the podcast, I just be wanting things to go right. And I feel like now I'm in a phase of like trying to pull back a little bit from that, and letting what's supposed to happen the way that it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like I wouldn't say perfectionist, but to a certain extent I am. Like Bree said, a lot of how I grew up has a big role into my perspective of trying to be perfect or looking perfect or looking a certain way and representing myself a certain way, just because of how I grew up, what my parents do as a profession. So
wait, can you do me a favor? Yes. Can you angle your body this way? Thanks. We're not making eye contact. Thanks.
So I definitely can relate to that. I definitely feel like it's hard trying to be a perfectionist all the time. I think it is. It's draining.
No, it is.
It's draining. Like, I want to be myself sometimes.
And you overthink every single thing.
Yeah. And you nitpick at every single thing. And when you get feedback, you're like, okay, well, maybe that is true. Or, I think when I do get feedback from certain of the way I look or talk or whatever, I do take it to heart sometimes because I'm like, well, yeah, I could improve on that. Like, I don't like to be like, no, they don't know what they're talking about. But, like, I like to take that
with an open mind.
Yes. Like, okay, well, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but you're looking at me. I'm not looking at myself.
From the outside.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's a lot of pressure, but, like, at the same time, I also want to be the best that I want to be. So if I can take that constructive criticism from somebody else and not take it so, like, personal, then I think I'm good. And then that will also open me up to being myself as well, but not trying to be too perfect, but also keeping in mind that, like, people are looking. So, like, you want to represent yourself a certain way, especially being a Christian. Like, I have to represent myself a certain way, in a classy way. And also my parents, like, I don't want them to see me as something else that I'm really not. Like, I want to be the most classiest that I can be, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And I also feel like, in a way, and this is something I've realized and I hate to bring up relationships, friendships, just in general. I feel like me kind of taking myself back and not trying to be so, like, perfect all the time also allows me to like, show up a lot more myself with my friends, with my family. My step-cousin actually hit me up recently, and again, this is somebody on the outside looking in, and was like, you don't always have to be perfect. Like, we accept you for who you are. This is a family I was married into. So clearly he's seeing something that I'm not seeing. I feel like I've said this many times before. I'm always my true self, but a part of me being my true self is there's always been some type of, like, perfectionism in that. Yeah. So I'm trying to, like, not be so perfect.
Yeah. And I also think that there's, like, self-expectation and then also sometimes an outer expectation for that when you are a natural leader. Like, if you stand out and you're a leader and you naturally are like that, then, of course, you're going to want to be perfect or look perfect or be perceived as perfect. So I think that's natural, but it's also, like, God made me who I am, the way that I am. I am the way that I am. So I also want to show that too. Like, it has to be some type of balance.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, but even with being on this podcast too, I feel like we've had that kind of pressure, and that's why me, Bree, and Cam have also had that conversation of not trying to be so, like,
perfect.
Cookie cutter.
But that's also pressure that we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever gotten, like, negative feedback or anything like that to warrant us to like feel this way. I think we went into this podcast just trying to put our best foot forward always, and we kind of compared ourselves a little bit to other podcasts, and that was kind of the downfall of, like, sit up straight, sit top shape, and it's like, no, like, we're ourselves, and there's an audience that clearly listens and receives what we say and knows knowing that our personality shows it's reciprocated in that way. And that's when we get the most engagement, is when we're posting reels, just being goofy, being funny, so.
Yeah, just being our natural selves. Especially with me and you being content creators, it's also a pressure into it too. But, like, we also know that, like, our personality is what get people to watch, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's just a fine line. Like, we're not no ratchet girls.
Absolutely
or no
not.
raunchy girls.
I'm not gonna lie, I have like a classy side, I have a ratchet side, and I have like a family in between side.
But there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah, I know when to take a hat off and when to put it on. But I definitely have different sides of me, and I feel like who I am naturally to y'all, to like content and everything.
Yeah.
I show up that way, but I think the way that I show up in that way comes off as trying to be perfect. If that makes sense.
No. Yeah, I get it. No,
Yeah.
makes sense. Definitely.
Even like, you know, working out in a gym and I'm like setting all these expectations by summer. I need to be this. I know you're on a workout journey as well, but I'm like, I want to be this weight. I want to look like this. Summer vibe, blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, girl, you are a grown woman. Please accept it for what it is. I'll be looking at myself like, damn, you fine. But then I'll be looking at old pictures. It's when I look at old pictures that it be hitting the worst. And it's like, you used to look like that. Like, you're still capable of looking like that. But it's like, no, you're evolving. You're growing. Like, just let God do what God's going to do through your body. Yeah. So. You got something to say? Everything changes.
It's just this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, okay, so like obviously physical attraction is one of the first things that I feel like you kind of point out when it comes to finding a prospect or what have you. And I think, I don't know, in some way, like I'm obviously not ugly. I'm, you know, I would like to think I'm a beautiful person.
You are.
In every single relationship I've been in, it's been like the first, what is it called? No, like the first interaction, first impression. Yes, the first impression has always been like, you're so pretty, you're fine, da da da, pretty, fine. It's like, I want to hear that. That was probably really loud. I want to hear that I'm beautiful. I want to hear that like you see me on the inside looking out, and you just appreciate who I am on the inside, which I have, you know. But just to be like, have a first impression that's not strictly physical, which I know is hard because like obviously you see somebody, there's a balance obviously, but I think we live in a world now where it's like physical attraction is just always at the very, very, very center. So the question is, if somebody approached me with my credentials, would I be creeped out? And like not just talking about like my looks. I don't think I would be creeped out. I would actually be very flattered because I've never got that before. And you knowing all these things about me is you. I mean, it's a balance, obviously. Like, don't do too much. Now. But at the same time, I feel like that's refreshing. Yeah. Like, we're talking, because that leads to conversations, and who knows where the conversation's going to go. Yeah. Whether it's for networking, like potential relationship, whatever, I would definitely not be creeped. How would you feel if somebody like...
I wouldn't be creeped out at all, especially because
that's so flattering.
I think it is too, and because we're both on social. Well, I'm technically not, but we're both on social media. I feel like that means you did your research. That means you found me. That means I'm reaching people. Yeah, and that means you're actually interested in my interest and what I have going on. So
and you
I
invested
wouldn't be
the time. To like.
Yeah, and I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't be creeped. I've been approached like that once before, and they're just like, "Oh, I've seen your social media. Like, you just seem so dope. I want to get to know you." And I would be flattered. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you're a creep." I'm on social media. Right. Like, anybody can see me.
I mean, yeah. So the question is, what's the deal breaker?
I already know what she's about to say, but go ahead.
So if you're too short, obviously, I like to wear heels. I like looking up. Too short for sure. And my rule of thumb now is, if you stand in front of me, well, if you stand in front of me and you're not covering my entire body, that's a problem. Because God forbid, if we're in a shootout, like, you need to protect me. You need to be able to cover my... That's the rule of thumb. For real. Yeah, how long have I been saying that? Yeah. You need to be able to protect me. Yeah. I want my man to protect my... Like, okay? So, yeah. What about you?
Mine would definitely be too short. And I'm already short. So, like, if you're shorter than me, then, baby, you're too short. And as long as you're taller than me, like, you don't have to be tall. I don't think you have to be even tall for a man. But, like, as long as I can look up and you're taller than this right here, then we're good.
Yeah.
And also, your hygiene. If you don't smell good, I can't do it. I can't. It's just not for me. So those would be like the two things. But definitely, you can't be short of me. I'm already short. I don't like.
I love a man that smell good. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
my gosh. When he walk past. And
What was that? Or when you give him a hug, like.
Yeah. Yep. So
exactly.
I don't know. Wrinkled clothes. Is wrinkled clothes a deal breaker?
I don't know, because sometimes my clothes.
If it's, I was gonna say, if it's like, you know, a little bit, then like, fine. But if it looked like your stuff just came out the washing machine and you ain't put it in a dryer and you let it air dry but didn't iron it, that's a problem for me.
Okay,
yeah, that's a problem.
And if it has that little smell, because like you didn't keep it in
the
dryer
water
long enough, the mildew smell, can't do it.
Yeah.
You sound like you had a personal experience with that.
No, we do.
Yeah, no.
It's just, and I was just talking about this on Dewey's podcast. You just have to have a certain level of like polishedness to yourself, especially at our big old age. Yeah. Like that is so important because again, first impressions matter, and you always say this. Yeah. You never know who you're going to meet.
That's true.
I could meet my husband walking outside right now.
Literally. That's why I always got a little something, a little lip gloss, hair decent.
Perfume.
Yes, have to. Even if I'm going to the grocery store.
Mouthwash.
No, for real. Yeah. You never know.
I honestly think to wrap up, we should cheers, drink some wine. I think we're both single. We're not going to be celebrating Valentine's together, but it's okay because you have priorities and we'll celebrate another time. But it's definitely a season of love, and I love you guys. I love you. I love this podcast. And yeah, just in a world full of like being pressured to be perfect, in a world full of Trump madness and all that stuff, like just take a shot, let your hair down, be yourself. Like, just
you still have some life.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're still here for a reason. That means you still should enjoy your life, not be too serious.
Yeah.
Cheers to love. Cheers to Black history. Cheers to Black people.
Period.
And
cheers. I'm Bree.
I'm Breeze.
And this is Black Womenlinkkup.